the longest time, the Metroid series seemed to be lost to us. While the Prime trilogy was fantastic, once it was done, it left a void that was never properly filled. On top of that, there was an itch that we couldn't seem to reach. While many people loved the Prime trilogy, it seemed to cause us to want more of what we lost. And what we lost was what made Metroid famous in the first place. And that was the fast-paced action 2D exploration game that has its name in the genre, Metroidvania. The last true old-school Metroid game we had that was not a remake was Metroid Fusion, back in 2002. That was 19 years ago. This game released at the same time as Metroid Prime and worked as a way to bridge the new players who were discovering Metroid for the first time in Prime with the old-style gameplay found in Fusion. This gave fans of both versions something to play and enjoy, especially if you connected Fusion to Metroid Prime, as doing so unlocked the Fusion suit in Metroid Prime and unlocked an emulated version of the original Metroid. After Metroid Prime 3, however, we were left at a weird impasse. New fans of Metroid wanted more games like the Prime series, while older fans wanted a more traditional Metroid. And so Nintendo gave us Other M. Other M was a mess. It had a lot of the traditional Metroid gameplay, but modernized a bit and delivered in a linear fashion. The problem with Other M, story aside, was that the gameplay tried to mix elements from Metroid Prime, but did so in a way that felt as if it was a downgrade, which made the game feel antiquated. After the mess that was Other M, Nintendo seemed to abandon the franchise. 2017, though, was the year it all changed. At E3 in 2017, during Nintendo's broadcast, they announced Metroid Prime 4, with solely a teaser card. Of course, we all went crazy, but then year after year, we continued to get nothing. Metroid Prime was in development hell. Rumors surrounded a new Metroid game that was supposed to release on the 3DS that same year. This Metroid game was Samus Returns, which was a remake of Metroid 2. And this now brings us to Metroid Dread. So let's go back once more. Back to 2005. And again to the rumor mill. The Prime trilogy was still underway, with Prime 2 Echoes releasing November of 2004. It was during this time that rumors about a new Metroid game for the DS was being worked on. This Metroid game was going to continue the story from Metroid Fusion. In 2009, however, we finally got our first look at this new Metroid game at E3. Sadly, this was behind closed doors and only those working for Nintendo of America were able to see it. Unfortunately, the game was scrapped due to the limitations of the DS and the quality not meeting the standards of Sakamoto, the series creator. At this point, Nintendo closed their doors on the game, and fans put it into the development hell category. In an interview in 2010, Sakamoto confirmed that they had indeed been working on Metroid Dread, but that the project had been scrapped. And if the project were to ever be revived, they would need to start from scratch. With the release of Other M, Sakamoto stated they were now going to be waiting to see what fans want from the series. And even though Nintendo seemed like they were done with the idea of Metroid Dread, fans weren't. At every opportunity, they would ask Sakamoto about the game, to no avail. For years, there was nothing but silence surrounding the game, or any Metroid game outside of Prime 4 and Samus Returns Remake. Did Nintendo forget about their fans? Did they move on to other more profitable franchises? To be fair, the Metroid games, being one of Nintendo's flagship franchises, never sold particularly well. The best-selling games in the franchise history were the original on the NES and Metroid Prime, both games breaking past the 2 million sales marks. So it's no wonder that Nintendo has had very little faith in the franchise. Until June 15th, 2021.
Metroid Prime 4, which we previously announced. But today,
Are they gonna show?
we'd like to introduce another new entry in the Metroid franchise.
Not Metroid Prime 4? What is it? Metroid 5? During a Nintendo Direct on June 15, 2021, we were given our first official look at Metroid Dread. The game seems to have everything we as fans have been wanting. A traditional 2D Metroid. It played like Super Metroid, but with modernized controls. These modern mechanics are things that you can see in other Metroidvania games, such as Hollow Knight, Ender Lilies, or the Ori series. Some of these new mechanics include a dash which can be executed in the air or the ground, a multiple lock-on function for your gun, a new grappling hook, and the ability to climb walls. There's also the mechanic of running and hiding from the EMMI robots, which adds to the Dread title. Perhaps this was the plan all along, keeping us in the dark, and yet giving us enough hope for a new Metroid game that we want one even more. It must have been because when pre-orders went live for Metroid Dread, it quickly became the most pre-ordered game on Amazon US, UK, and Japan, as well as the most pre-ordered game on GameStop. It's safe to say that people are excited. It's also safe to assume that the franchise as a whole relies on the sales and reception of Metroid Dread and Prime 4. I guess Nintendo has been dreading this moment. Okay, I promise not to do that again, but I couldn't help myself. So this video isn't really a should you buy, because let's be honest, you already did buy it, just like me. And on the subject of honesty, I honestly believe this game is going to do extremely well. With the popularity of games like Hollow Knight and the Ori games, we are at a Metroidvania renaissance, and I, for one, welcome it. So let's leave it at that, and do me a favor, hit the like button, subscribe if you're new, and join me on my live streams of Metroid Dread, as we will be streaming it on release day, with daily streams at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And until the next one, guys, happy gaming.